Hey, I've come up with a new message to place in a bottle. Yeah, today's message is to all of the citizens in the United States, as well as all the immigrants that are coming in from literally around the world to our southern border. So, not going to get on the kick of whether or not you should be here, or whether you shouldn't, whether the place you come from is worse than where you've come to. Here's a question, though. I would hope that everybody would question. So the administration, right? Obviously, got some that want, they call it legal immigration versus illegal immigration, and there's definitely a definition of both. Um, those laws are federal, and they are created by Congress and then signed into law by the president. We have laws on the books that will label anybody coming across the border illegally as a illegal alien, and yet they bring it. So here's what I would ask you to think about, though. So if you're coming from an impoverished nation, which I'm assuming you would, in order if you want to come here for the better life, or maybe you think it's safer, whatever that reason may be, that you decided to cross over and the borders and come in. Maybe it was false promises. I don't know. Propaganda to tell you how awesome it is in America. It is awesome. But here's the difference. As an American, I have the right to vote. I'm required to pay taxes. I go to work. The American dream is available because I can go to work. I have the ability. As long as I work, I can earn money. As long as I earn money, I can buy things. So the American dream is alive and well for Americans, right? So if you come across as an illegal, and this current government or this current administration is telling you, come on in, it's all good, right? So they tell you to come in because we need population order to grow. But here's the problem: they let you come in the country, right? And then you're not allowed to work. So if you can't work, how are you any better off than you were from where you came? You probably had more freedoms from where you came, being that you could move around, you could go to work, you could practice, religions and all that stuff. You do everything you wanted to do in your own country. Then you come here, and basically you have to hide. Um, you can't go to work. You can't make a living. You can't have the American dream. So, at what point do you realize that this was a trap, right? So, what's the answer? I don't know. We have 11 million jobs open in the United States, more jobs than ever in history. And yet, you're not allowed to work. And if you can't work, you can't participate. And if you can't participate, you don't get the American dream. So basically, the decisions being made are creating a welfare state, right? So in the United States, um, for the last 100 years, anyways, at least, people think, oh, communism, horrible. Well, communism as a ruling, not so great. Um, I would agree, right? But as you see things, I mean, we really have tiers in our country, right? We have the rich elites. They talk about them, the 1%. Then you got the middle class, which is an American idea. It was never supposed to be. That was not part of the founding fathers' idea. A middle class was not part of it. It was the elites that owned all the property, and then you had the people that would rent the property in order to grow food, in order to live. Just like they did in Europe. I mean, that's what they thought. And then we had unions, right? Unions created middle class. But everything that attains power generally goes bad because of greed. So with that being said, like I said, we have 11 million open jobs, and you're not allowed to work. So therefore, you have now become basically a slave for what? You went, so the original slave was an indentured slave here in the United States, which were actually European whites, poor, And the rich people needed people to do things, so they said, "Hey, I will pay you your transportation to come to the United States." It wasn't the United States at the time; it was new colonies. But I'll pay for your transportation to come over here. But in the meantime, you have to work it off, right? That's how you pay me back, right? And of course, if you read history and stories, these people were treated horribly, just like every other slave in history has been treated horribly. Um, you know, they weren't able to attain the wealth. They didn't have the ability to have an American dream. They were there to basically, they were sold on a lie. Eventually that system broke down, but eventually this system will break down. When you bring 3 million people into a country, right? It's 1% population growth in a very short period of time, right after a pandemic, right after supply lines are shut down, as green energy people, are touting their stuff and like this, that, and the other about, don't drive. And then you see blackouts. I mean, there was no blackouts in Mexico, and now you're going to come to Texas or California and deal with blackouts. You're not going to have electricity. Isn't that kind of crazy? You could work when you were in Central America, maybe not make as much money. I don't know, right? True. But that's because of the economy and the government. Then they tell you to come here, right? So you make this treacherous journey, and now you're here, and basically you have to hide. You're not allowed to work. You're not allowed to participate. You're locked out of the financial system. Where's the gain? Where's the gain? That's what you should be asking. There's always the people in control, the governments. They always have a plan, and it generally doesn't bode well for those of us not in power. It's always about those that are in power. So I think you all should question why this is happening. The immigrants, as well as the citizens of the United States, right? If you're a citizen, you're upset at wealth being given away to those that have not earned it, because that's the American dream. You go to work, you earn things, you have things, right? And whatever level of things you want, that's up to you. Whatever makes you happy. Success is not a singular definition by any means. What I understand is in Central America, South America, all the places that a lot of these immigrants have come from, it's like a breadbasket. Perfect climate for growing food and being self-sufficient and having sovereignty. But then you have the corrupt governments and cartels, which make it so violent from what we hear, that people want to leave, and then they come to the United States and they go, they think it's so much better. Well, for some of us, it's better because we've lived here, certain places we live, but where are they putting all these immigrants? They're putting them inside of cities where the violence is out of control, right? So now you've gone from one country where you had family, friends, heritage, history, sovereignty. You come to a new country, you probably don't speak the language, you can't work, you can't make a living, you're now in a welfare state, you're dependent upon a foreign government to try to help you, and you're placed in areas that are so violent. They're actually more violent than where you came from. I don't know where the win is, but I certainly think everybody needs to think about this. Why? So, again, the people in power always have an agenda. That's just how it works. Doesn't matter if it was an agenda in the country you came from, the agenda you are now living through here. But wow, I don't have a great answer for what is the answer. But I think if you can't participate and you can't work, you can't earn money, you don't have the ability to buy things, then you have just become an indentured servant to the people in power. I don't know. I if it was up to me, I guess, and I was in that group of immigrants. You did those 3 million people. They stayed in their own countries, fought for their own freedoms. You'd be better off than coming here and being an indentured servant of a government that created a welfare state. So all the immigrants coming in currently, take a look at the history of the United States. Look at the Native Americans. Ask them how it worked out. If you are in the minority class, so not necessarily Latinos, but if you look at the Black Americans, ask them how that welfare state works out. The government doesn't give you anything for free. They use you. right? So you may think, oh, wow, America's so generous. No, it's not really not. You were brought here for a reason. That's yet to be seen. Um, I'd be questioning, definitely questioning everything. If you've been brought here or asked to be here and you don't have the ability to provide for your own family, your own kids, yourself, go to work, attain the dream, what was the point? That's my message in the bottle. I hope it reaches all of you. I don't have the ability to put it in different languages, but hopefully you guys, everybody will translate to themselves and understand that every one of us is being taken advantage of on both sides. So I asked, don't be upset with the American people for being upset. Um, Look at it from their point of view, right? If you were a hardworking, wealthy country, right, and then a bunch of people came in and had nothing, and it's not that you have nothing to offer, but you're not allowed to offer it, right? So that's our government's fault. So now all of a sudden they create animosity between these two. This is what happens here. They love to keep us separated. As long as they keep us separated, they can govern. The day we get to all get together and realize that we are more alike than we are different, I don't know. I don't think they'll be able to govern us as easily as they think or as they do now. But as long as people keep arguing, well, that'll work for them. It doesn't work for us. And that's exactly what they want. So God bless. I hope you have a great opportunities out there, and I certainly hope things change for all of our sakes.